knowledge I'm an alcoholic. I cannot know myself.
4 films and then suddenly one day Mansoor Khan disappears to OT.
Well, it looks like someday to people who didn't know that my plans were always to run away.
Okay.
So my plans were never to stay in Bombay forever. So yeah, I guess at certain point I felt like it's not working. I mean, whatever it was. I mean, I always wanted to live out, and it just didn't work.
So how did you get the idea to go in terms of to what you did? You founded this resort, went into organic farming and making cheese.
Yes.
So was it all planned or in some way or?
So it's not a resort. I always wanted to live on a small farm. I like technology, I still do, but I don't worship.
Okay.
Because the idea is not the end of oil. The idea is the middle of oil.
Okay.
So you still have 1 trillion barrels left, which is what people say, oh, we haven't reached the end of oil. It's not the end of oil that's important, it's the middle point. Because after the middle point, your production drops. And in a growth-based paradigm, which is what our economics is based on, which is what our industry is based on, if you're in a growth-based paradigm, any drop in your fundamental energy source is suicide. It is disastrous. And that is what we face. So my book is basically telling you that we are at the middle point. It's green curve. I don't know if you can see it there.
There is a green curve.
Yeah, that is the what I call the reality curve. That is the body curve, the resource curve, the earth curve. And fundamentally it's the oil curve.
Let's say, what are the 3-4 assumptions you would list as?
The very first assumption is that it doesn't matter what oil, how much oil you have or whether it never runs out. You can never chase an exponential curve. So your concept of money itself is out of sync with any reality. Your concept of exponential growth of money and value is out of sync with any reality. So it really doesn't matter to talk about oil or anything for that matter, or any alternative. There's no oil or no alternative. The only time that oil could match the exponential curve, if you notice, was in the beginning when the bell curve itself is exponential.
It's like for a while everything.
Yes, that's what I call paradise time. This was the first phase, and this was the phase when we started believing in all these laws. We said, hey, this is possible. And that was almost 100 years, from 1850 to 1960. I've done the actual numbers. This is a hypothetical, this is a conceptual curves, but I show you the actual curves inside. And we managed to make money grow exponentially. And after a certain point, of course, it became symbolic. But for a certain time till the 60s, it was actually real.
So the middle economy are running neck and parallel to each other in some way, and then the limits of the energy production comes in, and then the exponential dream of endless growth comes. That is what your argument is.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, now there are 2 aspects to this I'd like to check out.
Yeah.
First is, there is talk of solar energy, there is wind energy, there is shale gas now, and there is alternate fuel cell technology. Each one seems to, right now as we speak, the hottest stocks on the NASDAQ are these alternative energy stocks. Are you pessimistic on all this? What is your...
It's not a question of pessimism, I'm realistic. Everything is premised on oil. How do you make a solar panel? So I give you 5 energy rules. Just like you have accounting economists villains, I'm not calling physicists villains. Actually, I'm not calling anybody a villain. I'm just trying to say, how did we get deluded? How did we get into believing this? How do I explain this, the disparity of where we stand? How do I explain world events? And if you look through this lens, if you look through the lens of this book, a lot of the world events could even make sense. High food prices will make sense.
Yes, the inflation, rounds of inflation based on energy, India has been going through it.
Exactly. The collapse of banking sector will make sense. The collapse of the civil uprising in unrest in Middle East will make sense. Because these were all things, if you could go back and read the blogs of people like you. So all this is documented over the last 10 years. So, the definition of doomsday has been misappropriated. Anybody who talks real, who doesn't, we say, live like there's no tomorrow. I mean, this is the kind of thinking that we are, party like there's no tomorrow. I mean, that means destroy yourself.
So your philosophy is basically
I am a person who says, no, let's not party like there's no tomorrow. There is a tomorrow. Let's think about that tomorrow. So let's be realistic. Let's be in sync.